Welcome back, my dear business intelligence people. Today we are going to look at the AI aggregation functions from BigQuery, because normally analyzing customer reviews or surveys is a job for non-SQL tasks, because you have to basically understand the context of all the different entries and rows. So it's not like a row by row where you can just ask an AI function and say like, okay, what is this row saying? What is this row saying? If you, for example, want to have the context of, okay, what are people actually complaining about? This is not a SQL task per se. Well, it is now with BigQuery AI aggregation functions. And this is actually quite nice, and I would like to show you this in this tutorial. So stay tuned and let's walk onto the screen. First of all, AI function. BigQuery has a lot of like nice functionalities added to like make use of their Gemini model. And of course, like every big provider, they just basically have an AI model nowadays where you can use this, in this case here, for BigQuery. So AI aggregation, AI classify, which we have done already, AI if and AI score are other functions that we might want to look at some point, hopefully. And if you follow me, you get to know what those do. But nevertheless, you can also look it up in the descriptions of and the documentation of BigQuery. But in general, so what AI function is doing is function uses Vertex AI Gemini model to aggregate data based on natural language instructions that you provide. The function can process text and images data, returns a single string. Okay, so what it's essentially doing is we can do a group by on top of a bunch of tables, and then we can analyze what is the context of a specific group by, basically. And you can see already in the examples here that I have, or that the documentation has, to be precise, that we can, for example, okay, title, movie ID, then we call AI aggregation, and then okay, there's a review, so there are a bunch of reviews per movie, and then it says you will be given a user-provided reviews of movie, summarized overall sentiment towards the movie. Wonderful. And then we say sentiment, because we need another sentiment analysis, and then there's a couple of movie IDs, and it goes through all the rows and then comes up with the sentiment. And we're going to use the same to kind of like go through customer reviews for specific apps, and then see what are people actually like asking for. And let's see if we have do we have other good examples. Yeah, of course we can also do this with images, which is also quite interesting. If you have a bunch of images and you would like to know, okay, what images are in the folder, or what's the general theme of your images. It's also quite nice. And text summarization, we have most frequent items, which is in the following tech news article. Okay, so here it's about like it's about to see what companies are mentioned in a bunch of news articles, right? So there are certain use cases that are quite nice, and basically, if you think, for example, like I said, you have influencers and you would like to see, okay, what are they posting about? You don't have to like look at each individual post. No, like you have to look at. You can look now at like the whole postings and say like, okay, what are they actually posting about? And this is actually also quite nice functionality, right? So you see, we are smelling business models here. But general, like also for within a company, you can do a lot of nice things here that you would previously not be able to do, because first of all, like most of the functionalities here are row by row, right? So you can say, okay, what's the specific row? But to emphasize here, we can do this by saying we have a bunch of rows. This is the context. Now tell me what it's about. And going over the arguments, quite easy. We have an input, we have an instruction, connection, endpoint, and that's about it, right? So meaning that we just give it what we'd like to analyze in an aggregation form, and then we give it a prompt, and we can additionally give it an endpoint, and so on and so on. So we will do this in a second as well. So follow me to our SQL, and here basically this is my SQL. I have a bunch of apps. So I have app 1, 2, 3, and those all have reviews and star ratings. So we're not looking at star ratings, we're looking at the reviews today. And in this case, we can basically aggregate this and use this to find out what are people actually complaining about. Right, so I'm going to, I would say, app name. I do an AI aggregation. I would give it the review text. And then I would say, this is, let's say, those are reviews for different apps. Please, because we always say please to the AI, you never know. Please analyze them and tell me what the reviews, let's say, are complaining about, right? So top level prompting here, but generally this should already do a lot of the things. We have an unexpected error because we first of all need my group by all, and I'm missing something. I'm missing some unexpected. Okay, perfect. This already works. But we also want to give it at least a model, because if we don't choose a model, BigQuery chooses a model or Google chooses a model, and this is most likely not in our favor. If I go to so we kind of like made the input instructions. We can give it a connection if we have a connection set up. But if we want to use like the off-the-shelf models, we can use Gemini 3.1 Flashlight or Gemini 3.5. And we know already like that Flashlight is very much cheaper. So if we go back, I can give it an endpoint. Endpoint always, I would say endpoint, then endpoint, then I would equal sign like this. And then I assign an endpoint, and hopefully not complaining. I press enter, and we have a look what it comes down to. So this will take a second, but once you see, you will get like per app, we will see what is actually happening. Okay, nice. So of course, app name, aggregation. Here we didn't I forgot to give it a, a column name, so we have to go by this. So here it gives us a couple of topics. Users are primarily frustrated by the following issues: aggressive monetization, okay, technical instability, poor customer support. So that's already quite nice and obvious in here. Okay, this is giving me this in German because the app is in German. Opaque billing structures. So what we always can do, we can level up our prompting to say complaining in English. Game changer. So, and now we still haven't called the column, but if we have to execute it again, then we call it, let's say, areas of improvement, right? Because we want to always improve. Okay, so our second app is also German, also switched from German to English, and then limited recipe variety. So you can basically give your product manager a nice summary every day with what the recent reviews are going for. Or let's say you can also have other use cases, right? Like mentioned in the beginning, you can have an influencer, and this influencer posts, and you could just say, okay, please analyze what are the topics that the influencer posts about, and so on. So you can basically do a massive value for the company with these kind of things. And to be honest, I quite like this feature. I think this is good to know. You should know it. It's one tool of the many tools that we have in our tool shed of different AI tools. And to be honest, you would otherwise need to bring the data out of BigQuery, do some stuff there, and then come back. And this basically gives you a lot of flexibility in what you can do. Right, so it's quite nice. Let's also have a final look at what else we can do here. Output gives us already, we went through the examples, right? So we have a text example. We have another example that most exactly. We have another example that's basically the same. We have an image example. We have an example which just says, okay, what's the most frequent? So those are all the same, right? So I'm not coming here and say these are completely different. The inference cost, of course, you can always use the count tokens to check, which of course doesn't include thinking tokens if you have a thinking model. And known issues, probably also important. So single input row has more than 10 images, it might be skipped. Important if you want to analyze images. And nice that they mentioned this at the very low end of that article. And then with areas of object runtime. Okay, so if you put a lot of images into into your function that will also get skipped, might also fail, and then might cause, exactly. So it also restricts, right? So you cannot like aggregate everything together. If you have more than 10 megabytes, it might cause, right? So it's like always good to have a non-deterministic answer here. And then I say, okay, it can make an error if we use this also with a distinct modifier somewhere. And then function might return an internal error if, if Gemini 3 is not available. Well, that's a surprise. And that's about it. It's quite nice, like I said, quite nice. If you would like to see more of these videos and little function calls and golden nuggets of years of experience of business intelligence, if you want to become more senior in business intelligence, I have at least a playlist of BigQuery. I also have a playlist of app attribution. I'm working on some more tracking topics. If you like to see more of this, leave a like, leave a comment. Tell me what to do next, what we can do, what you would like to explore, so that we can make a more educated workforce out of the business intelligence people and level up to senior in with this, for example. Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye-bye.